Alright, so here we are with our last episode of Halo 2, and we're gonna do the thing we did with Halo 1 Anniversary, which is just look at the difference in graphics. We're gonna be here a while, if the last version of this was any indication, so...
Oh, there's a lot more to talk about with Halo 2, so...
There is. It's much more of a proper graphical overhaul than it is just swapping in Reach assets. We're going to start. I don't know if we talked about this previously. We can't actually watch the first two cutscenes in co-op, so I don't feel like editing that shit. We're just going to hop right into Cairo Station. There'll be other cutscenes.
Fun.
And let's get to it.
You told me there wouldn't be any cameras.
So, right away, we get into the premiere feature of Halo 2 Anniversary, which is these cutscenes, which are done, as everybody will tell you, by Blur Studios.
Who are notable, because many people will say Blur did them, but not why they're notable. Blur, so if you've ever seen an E3 trailer for a video game that was pre-rendered, chances are Blur actually made it.
Yeah. And I swear I don't say these things just to be contrary. I don't like these cutscenes.
They...
Quite a crowd. If they came to hear me,
There's a lot of things they change that don't work. They look good, but they don't work
Yeah.
the same way.
On a technical level, they're very good. They have many pixels in them. But the colors are really weird. They're oversaturated. The blacks are too black. The whites are too white. And here we see a weird thing. You might notice, going forward, Master Chief's armor is a wildly different shade of green in cutscenes than it is in gameplay.
I appreciate Lord Hood looking like a mummified corpse, by the way.
Yeah. Johnson is, like, sweating profusely.
He really is.
It looks very weird. Like, everybody involved did a good job, but locations don't look the same as they do in-game. Character design is different enough to be really noticeable. Like, again, Master Chief's armor is a full different shade of green, and his armor in cutscenes has, like, all sorts of scratches and battle damage, and then in gameplay it's, like, pristine. And, like, that maybe that's a weird nitpick, but it's really noticeable.
And then on top of that, there's actually audio differences that you might not pick up while we're talking over it. They're very subtle, but there are certain things that are different in the way they are mastered, and it sounds different as a result. This scream, for example, in the original is much goofier sounding.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, some people probably like the look of these cutscenes. I personally wasn't a fan when I saw them.
Yeah, also Miranda Keyes looks like she's in her mid-40s, but her voice suggests she's like late 20s. And so does her design in Halo 2 regular.
Commander, get to your ship. Link up with the fleet.
Yes, sir.
You have the mech gun, Cortana.
Like, I'm not saying that,
As they
like,
come in range,
a
open
more
up.
middle-aged woman can't have a higher-pitched voice, but her design in these cutscenes does not match her design elsewhere.
Sir, additional contacts. Boarding craft and lots of them.
It feels like they changed a lot of things to make them more realistic or higher fidelity, but they didn't really think too hard about the overall effect of those changes combined with each other.
Yeah. And then, of course, because we're not going directly back into gameplay, the music cuts out and has to restart.
Yep.
And, oh look, here we go. Look, your armor is way lighter and you don't have scratches all over it, you have, like, chipped pieces.
Yeah, chipped paint like the original texture in Halo 2.
Your visor is a lot cleaner. And again, like, yeah, this is a nitpick, but it's a pretty noticeable difference.
But jumping into the visuals themselves, I do think Cairo Station looks so much better.
Oh yeah,
the,
and just like
anniversary.
in Halo 1, we can hop back and forth with the press of a button.
weapons locker.
Although if I do it, my game tends to hang. So
Yeah, well, don't do that then.
yeah.
Hold still a sec. Hold
Oops,
still.
sorry.
So like you can look at the armor and like, oh no, hold still. So the chips are about in the same place. But yeah, in the cutscenes they're not. And we'll see it in other places where we go more directly into the area where we are. The end of this mission, actually, where we give the Covenant back their bomb, we get out of the elevator into a location that does not look like the room we fight in. It's just very jarring.
Yes. So immediately, lots of changes that are notable. Lots of extra lighting. The lighting is very pretty, by the way. There's something to be said for the way they've handled it.
The lighting's great. It's nice to finally see Halo 2 with the shadows it was supposed to have in 2004.
The stencil shadowing, yeah. There's like soft glowing on the ammo counter for the battle rifle. There's all the weapon models are different. Well, I say different. They're recreations of the originals, but like they have very subtle differences to them.
Also,
it's kind of
a thing to note is that this remaster, this graphical overhaul, came out after Halo 4. So it is drawing a little bit from Halo 4's own design decisions, though not quite. A little bit, not fully.
I mentioned audio differences in the cutscenes. There are significant audio differences in the two versions of gameplay. Why don't you shoot those SMGs for the viewer?
Okay. Yeah, they sound a bit different. Battle rifle, take or leave, either one. Generally, I'd say the weapons sound punchier.
There's some subtle differences to it.
Watch the crossfire.
Kind of like in Halo 1, we do get a bit more lighting applied to certain areas, so like this hallway is now blue. I mean, it makes sense that there would be lights here. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just like they changed the color palette. This hangar, or whatever it is, looks a lot better.
They've added a lot more going on outside the windows, too.
What's funny is actually all these ships, I believe most of these are 2D sprites, and then in the remake, you still have some, but they're, like, fully 3D.
So, the elites, they're back to looking more like they did in Halo 1 and 2. Very sleek looking, very slender, compared to, like, Reach.
Yeah, I like the elite armor in 2 Anniversary. It's very vibrant. Halo 2 default... Halo 2's graphics in its classic version are what I would call dusty. It's not desaturated. It's not like they took a color palette and then turned the saturation down. They just chose a lot of things that don't go anywhere near the true color range. Like, this blue is... It's got a lot of gray in it. The black of our suit is kind of a mid-tone gray. The mid-tones are what we're getting. We don't get any full spectrum.
Yes. But the thing about that is that in the original look, it made certain lighting elements really pop, especially green and red, which allowed them to call your attention to things very easily. Whereas... I wouldn't say, like, it's hard to grab your attention in the Anniversary look. It's just, there's a lot more going on, so...
There is a lot more going on. I think the colors being more vibrant on enemies especially is a good thing in that case.
So here's the thing. Johnson's in-game model for the Anniversary looks a lot better than he does in the cutscenes.
It does. He's... Also, here we go. Johnson's skin tone is noticeably lighter in-game than it is in the cutscenes. He is very dark-skinned in the cutscenes.
Yeah. That could just be the way they lit the cutscenes, though, as well.
Well,
like,
that's what I was talking about. The lighting is so harsh.
Yep.
And let's take a look at one of the most obvious changes as far as the soundscape goes, because if I can use this turret, where's the...
I don't think you can use Johnson's turret.
There we go.
Oh, you can. Okay.
So in Halo 2, by default, this turret sounds bad. This isn't even like a 22. This is an 11. But in the anniversary, that's a good gun sound.
Also, something I pointed out the first time I played this with the anniversary look on is just how juicy the blood is.
Yeah,
the graphics.
It's very vibrant.
Again, as we mentioned, the original look of Halo, we'll never know, but the original look of Halo was supposed to have very hard stencil shadows lighting everything, and it didn't.
Halo 2.
Halo 2, sorry. Right. Yeah, Halo 2 was supposed to have very harsh stencil shadowing, which it didn't because of the hardware. We won't know if that would have contributed to the overall look of the game, because it's just not going to happen, right? That's the thing. That's a possible explanation for why Halo might be underwhelming on that front, because the stencil shadowing was going to carry a lot of it. But here we are looking at, look at this fancy glow on the glass and the heat. I guess it's not really glass if it's on a space station, but
I mean, it might be glass. Who knows? Oh, you can also
like,
see here it's like actually melted.
Yeah, there's heat haze.
Which is just a lot of nice little touches in the anniversary graphics.
Ah, here we go, this explosion.
Oh yeah.
I don't believe it! They're retreating! We won!
Also, please note the lack of subtitles. I've already done that. We don't need to hear what they're saying.
Bad. Real bad.
That explosion looks way better in the anniversary graphics.
Yeah.
It's way more convincing than the fucking 2D sprite flying apart very slowly.
If we just gently increase the scale... Well, anyway, we've done enough here. Let's go give the Covenant back their bomb in the next big cutscene.
We should show off that plasma grenade explosion, by the way. It looks very different.
I'll cut in the one I just did.
Just so you know, there are quite a few elites guarding the bomb. You may need to get creative.
Alright, let's get creative.
Alright, so take a good look at this room. Got it? Cool.
Good.
Me, inside your head, now.
Well, wait a second. Where exactly are we?
How much time was left?
You don't want to know.
Cairo, this is an Emberclad. The carrier shield is down. I'm in position and ready for immediate assault.
Negative, Commander. Not against a ship that size. Not on your own.
Sir, permission to leave the station.
For what purpose, Master Chief?
To give the Covenant back their bomb.
Permission granted.
We can't even see a lot of the room around us.
It's very dimly lit.
But, like, the bomb was in a really narrow corridor there, which we saw it was actually just kind of in the middle of the room.
I know what you're thinking, and it's crazy.
So, stay here.
Unfortunately for us both,
Lots of
I
lens
like
flare. Depth of field being used very aggressively.
Yeah, and again, like, the graphics are good, but it really feels like the two separate teams had the source footage of the Halo 2 cutscenes and went wildly different directions.
Just one question. What if you miss?
I won't.
And I'd like to reiterate that is not how decompression works.
very impressive explosion.
Yeah, again, no complaint about the fidelity of the graphics. There are many graphics inside these graphics.
So, were those longswords trying to make an opening for the chief, or was that just coincidence?
I'm not sure. I don't think we'll ever know. I'm sure there's a book you could read about it.
This is the thing that still bothers me to this day. This is not how this works.
Okay, let's talk about mass and...
Everything's a lot darker.
Yeah.
A lot more darkly lit, and it just...
I mean, you can barely see Johnson.
Chief, get inside.
They
Gear
just
up.
turn up the lights. Well, let's take the fight to the surface in the next segment.
The message just repeats. Regret.
Oh,
Regret.
now everything
Regret.
is brown.
Any idea what it means?
Dear humanity, we regret being alien bastards. We regret coming to Earth. And we most definitely regret the Corps just blew up our raggedy-ass fleet. Hoorah!
Regret is a name, Sergeant.
Very
The
spacious
name of one of the
cockpit in the
Covenant's
anniversary cutscene.
Yeah.
He's on that carrier, and he's
And
calling
I don't
for
mean to
help.
nitpick. I don't mean to be like, OMG, ding, Halo sin. But like, when did Johnson have time to change into combat gear? He was wearing a military dress uniform like 30 seconds ago.
Mr. Chief, get aboard that carrier. Secure the prophet of regret. This is the only
It would have been
place on
great
Earth
if
the
he was like
Covenant
wearing
decided to
his
land.
Class A
That prophet is going
uniform
to tell us
with
why.
the armor over top of it. Like he just threw it on.
Whoa. There's a lot more emotion on the faces, at least.
You all right, Chief?
Shake it off, Marines! Clear the crash site. Go, go, go!
So again, you just get better lighting, better everything. It's gonna be that. I'll just say that right now. It's just gonna be like, yes, the graphics are better.
To the surprise of nobody.
You do get some very good attention to the proper geometry this time around. Once we get to Delta Halo, we'll see that a little more. They didn't make so much shit up as they did in Halo 1 Anniversary.
So a big thing going into these missions on Earth with the anniversary graphics on is that they have added way more stuff outside of the map boundary.
They have.
And they have sold that we are in a city a lot better. You'll see it as we progress forward more. But there's you know, way more high rises and skyscrapers and what have you already visible.
I just noticed something, and viewers will have seen me being confused about it. Skull, are you in Anniversary Graphics?
I am, yes.
Okay, locate the space elevator.
It's like roughly there. Hang
And let me know when you see it. You'll be able to see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, now go into Classic Graphics.
Alright. What? I'm sorry, excuse you? Oh, it shifted. It shifted, many kilometers to the right.
Man, New Mombasa civic planning is, like, really good at their jobs. They just get that thing back and forth in no time.
If we look back, this way, there's a whole building there, and then you press the classic graphics button and it's gone. Another thing is the actual ambient noise too when you go back into the anniversary.
Yeah, far more distant gunfire.
Yep, almost like there's a conflict going on throughout the whole city and not just where we're fighting.
Now, something I do want to mention, because, of course, at time of recording, Halo 4 is not out for PC, so the enemy models are not from Halo 4. So even though this came out after Halo 4, the weapon models and enemies and character models are not just taken from that game, which again contrasts to how Halo 1 just took Reach assets. Although I will say, there's something I noticed the first time I played this. Master Chief's thumb, when holding the pistol, is a little bit like it's made out of clay. And also it seems to have done the thing where your vertices twist a little more than they're supposed to. You can kind of see the top of his wrist there floating above his armor. So that's unfortunate. Just another reason not to use the Halo 2 pistol. I saw there that Phantom was very red for some reason.
Yes!
Hunters! They are
Hunters.
a little beefier. Their guns are certainly beefier.
Well, they want them to be intimidating, don't they? They certainly are. We need to show off their fuel rod effects if we can. Alright, well, anyway, after that debacle, something immediately to note about the Hunter models is how much meatier they are. Look at them. It's, the worm parts are very wormy. Distressingly so, I would say.
They sure are.
Does not look good.
Well, here's a fun sight.
What, a Halo 2 Phantom eradicating me with its many, many guns.
Something like that. As we're talking about the overview of New Mombasa here.
So yeah, this is one of the visuals that is really significantly changed for the better, in my opinion, in the anniversary look.
Yeah, once we're all done here, eventually. Okay, I think we're finally good. Nope. Sure do just keep spawning enemies. Alright, let's take a look.
Yeah.
Huh.
There's a lot more city in there.
Although the space elevator is now in the right place.
Makes you think.
That's rather interesting. Yeah, there's like a some sort of road that's going along the perimeter of the city there. Just a lot more buildings. Of course, there's more detail on them as well, because this is a pretty low-res little JPEG.
Well, that's another thing. That's actual. I mean, either they're really high-quality JPEGs or there's depth to them.
I'm pretty sure this building, the
oh no, they're definitely JPEGs.
Oh yeah, they're absolutely just flat images, but still, it just looks better, and there's more to it. You can just support a larger file size in the skybox. Noise for the ghost plasma fires, very weird.
The concentration of Covenant troops is directly below the carrier.
I believe this Warthog is. I don't know.
This Warthog is the Halo 4 model.
You should jump in. It's worth noting that the classic graphics have the little accelerometer, and the anniversary does not.
Oh man, I love the beach.
Yeah.
I hope you packed a
That's not the
suit,
only
mate.
thing the anniversary graphics doesn't have, as far as some sort of dynamic decal. So it might be the Halo 4 model for the Warthog, but it's not the Halo 4 sound.
I think it does say a lot about the original, like, geometry of the game, that you just put some hard lighting on it and it looks really good.
Oh yeah, like I said, I think Halo 2's general combat encounters, when you're not just standing in one place and killing waves of enemies until the game decides to let you keep playing, is far and away better than than Halo 1's. We'll have to see if the trend continues in Halo 3.
On top of that, I think that, like, obviously they've remade these areas some, but taken as like, oh, this is generally the same shape of environment, right? With a facelift. The lighting really is actually very effective in the anniversary graphics, right?
Oh, it
Very
absolutely
long
is.
sunset shadows on the beach and that. So I don't know, maybe Halo 2 would have been awesome if they'd been able to pull off the stencil shadowing like they wanted.
Well, that's getting back into Dark Souls 2.
Yeah.
Like, would it looking better really have changed our complaints? And a reminder, I like Halo 2. It's probably my second favorite of the Halos. But it has issues, and I don't think it looking... I mean, it looking nicer in the anniversary graphics, we literally get to know. It looking nicer doesn't change the fact that the majority of the second half of the game is just really stiff combat encounters that make you do a lot of waiting. Even the tunnel looks a little more interesting. You have, like, exhaust fans, which are important for tunnels.
Yeah. Remember, children, if you're gonna build a tunnel, ventilate it.
So while we're here, let's have an interesting piece of history. I forget exactly when, but for a very long time, the actual length of a tunnel that a person could dig was pretty harshly dictated by physics, because it would get to the point where, like, not enough air from outside could be drawn inward far enough, so you would literally just run out of oxygen, even though, like, it should potentially be able to flow inward. And how they fixed this was somebody had the bright idea of building, like, a little wooden wall and lighting a very small fire at the threshold, which created suction because of the temperature differential, which drew in fresh air. And it's such a small flame, it didn't burn all the new oxygen fast enough and let plenty of it come back for the people inside the tunnel. There's your history lesson for this episode of Halo 2.
Look, this show aims to be educational, alright?
In many different ways. So actually something we get to see here really well. For some reason, Halo 2 Anniversary decided to do away with the large amount of color coding the Covenant have. Like, this thing that I always forget the name of is a lot bluer. Our Ghost is pretty on par for the lighter fuchsia sort of purple. The Phantoms are very red. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Will not be the last time the Covenant vehicles change color.
Honestly, the Covenant change their vehicles and loadouts so often that I just don't understand how their logistical system works. Truly, it is alien.
It blew right through us. 50 cal rockets didn't do a thing.
See, look how full of random shit that bridge is.
Yep.
And the bridge is totally different looking.
Yep. The bridge actually looks smaller in the cutscene, no lie.
Yeah, it almost looks like, if you want to talk about, like, photography, like it was shot with a different lens to bring it in much closer, like it had a very different focus length or something.
I don't know, I'm not a camera guy.
Because, like, it seemed as if the tank had been dropped off, like, up here, in this area.
Yeah?
I think the space elevator changed again.
It did.
It looks much closer. Although I guess it's the same there. Here we do actually have a pretty big difference in skybox. This one in Halo 2 looks like it's a little later in the day.
Yep.
Like it's either getting dusky or it is... the sky is being hazed over by smoke because of that thing and all the fighting. But we do see that now we're kind of more just in the general afternoon. But we do get to see, actually, just how much wider the city is. Good opportunity. Let's see how different the color is in the Wraith. That's about the same. Interesting thing to note, now that the music is kicked in Halo 1 Anniversary, you can choose to play with the Anniversary graphics, but use the remastered audio, so gun sounds and music, and vice versa. You could play remastered but use the classic sounds. Halo 2 Anniversary does not give you that option. It's one or the other.
There's some differences in music we'll touch on, and they're pretty drastic.
You might notice that the music in Halo 2 Anniversary is a lot louder as well.
What is audio mixing?
Okay, let's get into that, because I haven't actually mentioned this anywhere, but part of the reason that I demanded to myself that I do the subtitles for these games is because Halo 2's default audio mixing is garbage.
It's not good.
I'm not even giving it the credit of calling it not good. It is garbage. You have entire cutscenes where people's own audio, as they're speaking, fluctuates line by line.
I knew that they should have sprung for a sound blaster in the original Xbox. So something I actually really like about the effects that they've added is the visible pressure wave on the rockets when they explode.
Yeah,
I always appreciate that.
They do a lot of good stuff.
I don't know that the original has that pressure wave. I think it's justifiable.
Oh,
okay,
yeah,
and they play it having a pressure wave in the original by having like a circular decal. Yeah, but it's not it doesn't distort the air.
Yeah, I don't blame it for not.
We wouldn't get lens distortion and heat haze and stuff like that until, you know, a generation later, and even then, not often.
Well, I would just like to point out that in 2004 you did get those things on PC.
Yeah, that's true.
Remember, Half-Life 2 was out this year.
That's true.
If you want to see a really good comparison between graphics, look at this nice little indoor plaza area, and then...
What? We didn't have time to texture this room.
It's the Pillar of Autumn all over again. You also didn't have time to texture that building. You know, even though we'll talk shit about Halo all day, basically, I still do feel bad for fans who saw the E3 reveal trailer of this level, and then you get to play it, and it's like, here is one circuit.
It's literally only the parts of the city that they showed in that E3 demo.
Yeah. Because why don't you take us around the entirety of the street-to-street fighting that you can do in Halo 2?
Alright, so that's where we came in. Hold on. We got, so we got these exits here.
There's a Marine command post in that building. We'll need to help them deal with that scare.
We got this little roundabout. And then we come up this hill. And then that's a dead end. That's a tunnel that's been closed off. And then there's this. I don't really know what to call it.
Chief. Head for their command post.
It's like a little boulevard holding area. And I think you would see this in an airport more than anything. If like you pull in, you go up to the gate and wait for someone, and then go back the other way.
And then we have this loop up here. Congratulations, you've seen all of the streets of New Mombasa.
Yeah. Sorry, Halo fans. You deserved better than this, at least this once.
The part that stings even harder is that there's actually no reason to come up here.
None at all.
Because the Wraith that spawns up here drives down towards you, and there's no other enemies or weapons or anything.
Yeah. And in the base game, it's very obvious that they felt the same way, because it's not very detailed. Alright, let's go fight a Scarab.
Sir, Corporal Perez, A Company. CP's this way.
Push
The
on
lieutenant got hit as soon as we dropped in.
Oh,
Who's in charge
before
now,
we do
Corporal?
that, let's talk about
Sergeant Banks, ma'am. He's up top.
these.
Come on, I'll show you.
Right.
So, oh, it's not there. Well, like in Halo 1 Anniversary, they added terminals to Halo 2 Anniversary, and there's a real hell of a thing with these. You know why?
I know why, but you explain why.
These terminals give you the backstory of the Arbiter. You know, the character that half the game is about, that we know almost nothing about by the end of the game. And, like, sure, enough of his character is set up for us to understand what the opening cutscene is about. No complaints there. The stories that happen in these terminals, I would argue, are very important pieces of information. Yeah. And they probably should have been in the game from the start. Let's watch this one.
Vadamy's most recent and damaging blow to the UNSC was the fall of Reach. Oni has still not been able to fully determine how Vadamy located the planet, and once again, he caught us completely by surprise when his forces arrived in orbit and on the ground. Vadamy is responsible for over 1 billion total casualties and the loss of at least 7 human planets. His forces have defeated all UNSC counterattacks at the cost of 123 fleet vessels and over 23,000 personnel. And now with Reach lost, Oni and UNSC strategic AI report a 0% confidence that the Navy can stop Vadamy through traditional means. In the opinion of this investigator, Vadamy is the most dangerous Covenant military asset on the field. It's common knowledge that the Covenant have a significant technological advantage over the UNSC, but are sometimes inflexible in their tactics. This is not the case for Vadamy. We cannot predict what he'll do next, but given time, we fear he will dismantle all remaining UNSC strongholds. This agent's recommendation: immediate termination. If humanity wants to survive this war, we cannot do it with Vadamy on the field.
Huh, this Vadamy, he seems like
he seems like somebody should have fucking mentioned him before now. Before 2014. Remember, and I have to stop myself from talking about Halo 3 here because, you know, we're not at that part of the series yet. The Arbiter. By the way, the Arbiter is this guy named Thel Vadamy, in case you didn't know that. In case you didn't read the fucking books to know that. And again, you get plenty of information in the opening cutscene of Halo 2 of him, like, you were a fleet leader, but you failed to do a thing with Halo. We're stripping you of your title. Honestly, if he's such a big badass, I figure one little screw-up like that is probably grounds for more, like, probation, not get stripped naked in front of all your peers and branded with a hot iron.
artifact of religious significance, remember? Because suddenly it's all about the religion and not about Halo being a weapon.
Roll the clip, me!
They believe that Halo is some kind of weapon.
Halo is a weapon.
There we go!
So, yeah.
I didn't know the Arbiter had a real name until I played Halo 2 Anniversary.
My jaw legit went slack the first time I saw these terminal cutscenes because, like, wow, these really do round out the story of Halo 2 in a way that it desperately needed.
I don't want to cover every single one of them. I have them all. I've watched all of them, so I'm just going to talk about them. I suggest if you've never seen them and you are interested in seeing them after seeing that and listening to us talk about Halo for 20 almost 30 episodes. Holy shit. I would recommend finding these on YouTube and watching them, especially before we start into Halo 3, because let's talk about one single line.
Oh boy, I love it. It comes back.
Okay, so Cairo Station is under attack. Lord Hood is there. What if somebody said, what if a single person in charge said, it doesn't look like Thelvadamy is in charge, we might have a chance? I just made that up off the top of my head. And maybe it's because I'm a science fiction writer myself, but I think that's a pretty easy to come up with solution, rather than having Cortana be like, it's weird that they didn't expect to find us here. She could still say that, but if Lord Hood was like, it doesn't look like Thelvadamy is in charge of this fleet, we might have a chance to push them back, then it would give the line about them not expecting humanity a little more weight, because then it's like, huh, big fleet commander that, let's assume we know about shit. Let's assume that we've been given some more information in the past about this guy. Because, like, he's the Arbiter, he's half of this game.
Like, let's assume that they used his name in the cutscene that he was introduced in, or at any point where he is visible up until now.
Yeah, let's pretend. It's staggering, and I know people. The joke is rope company good, number company bad. Bungie cannot tell a story. 343 might make some questionable decisions, but they are good at giving the player information. I can't believe I can't believe how necessary these terminals feel.
Yeah. No, it's really shocking and jarring that Halo 2, with the context provided by these terminals that were added however many years later,
10 years
feels like a much more natural narrative. And do you want the slap to the other side of the face? These are missable.
Yeah.
Even with the anniversary graphics on.
Like, they're pretty obvious. Like, they give off this purple glow, but some of them are a little hidden. Some of them blend into the environment a little more. And it's just... And we're focusing on these more than we did Halo 1 Anniversary's graphics, because... terminals. Because these are incredibly relevant to the story, and they contain information that should have been in this game. Halo 1 Anniversary's terminals were kind of like a fun side story about the monitor of Installation 04 that actually had no bearing on the plot of Halo 1.
The events described in the terminals that they added to Halo 2 directly inform you about the state of mind, motivation, and, courses of action that might be taken by the characters in the story.
Yeah, it's It's the full backstory of one half of this game's major characters.
But then also, in addition to that, they give backstory to the heretic leader as well, right?
Yes, they sure do.
It also explains where the fuck the monitor came from.
Yeah. It also...
Because he just shows up at the end of this game.
Well, he shows up in the mission where you fight the heretic leader.
No, you're right. Sorry, he shows up in the middle of this game.
But you know what? Remember how we were like, why did he shoot at the Arbiter? It seemed like he was willing to listen.
Yeah.
In the terminals, it's a little better. It's still stupid, but it's like, since we're not going to cover all of these, the heretic leader basically goes, I want to tell him, but, you know, he's so zealous, and now that he's the Arbiter, he will do anything he can to make up his status to the prophets, so I don't believe I'll be able to convince him. So, like, it's a little bit. It's a little bit of something that's like, why did you...
Are you saying, reckon, that they corrected a very questionable writing decision with one line of dialogue?
They sure did, Skell. They sure fucking did! Let's go fight a scarab. Thank you for listening to us talk about a terminal for a long time.
It's kind of important.
But, like,
I didn't think they'd send a spark.
it so perfectly illustrates the point we've been making this entire time. And will continue to make going forward to Halo 3. It would be so easy to just drop in these lines of dialogue here and there. Like, every Halo game basically needs 5 minutes more of dialogue across its entire runtime. And it would just work better as a story. It's baffling.
It's wild. Now we come to my favorite room in the anniversary graphics.
Yeah.
This room is extremely different.
It's extremely better.
Yes.
So, a reminder, this is what we had previously. It's just a concrete box.
With water in it for some reason.
Yeah, like, is it an overflow thing? Like, is it a reservoir? We don't know. Here, it's a little more of something.
So this looks like it can go up and down for a start. And look, they added a gate for the water to flow out of.
Yeah. I think, again, Halo 2 Anniversary graphics are just quite good. They solve a lot of problems with the original design. So the Scarab, pretty much a one-to-one recreation.
Yeah. Which is interesting considering we have later models of Scarab to compare that they could have, like, inspired by, etc.
Yeah, this is far and away from, let's take the Wraith model from Reach and not even change the fact that it has a turret on it. Like, going from that, you could have easily expected them to just put the Halo 3 Scarab model into this game.
We can't go any further this way. We have it tracked.
Oh, look, we can get a little better overview of the city again.
Man, that space elevator JPEG in the original is rough.
It sure is. I think the biggest thing is that the cruiser up here, if it's not just a 2D image, or sorry, if it's not a fully 3D model, it is much higher quality 2D image.
It is. I've got the sniper. It's definitely a 2D image. It's doing a lot better of a job at selling its
can't do anything more to that Scarab
dimensions.
Here. We need to get inside it.
Yeah.
Its depth, its definition.
Well, let's kill the Scarab.
Interesting direction choice that it did that weird pseudo roar.
Yeah, is it a Metal Gear now?
Liquid!
That's right, you mothers! Run!
Negative, Commander.
Bam! Slip space rupture off the target's bow.
Okay, here we go.
Jump! Inside.
Now remember,
There's no time, sir.
ODST is a game that happens eventually.
Yeah, I can't wait to play it.
Punch it. Get us close.
You'll notice the ever-popular Handycam zoom.
That sure does look like it's annihilating the city.
Yeah, doesn't look like there's going to be a lot left to New Mombasa.
How much further must we heft this
Went for like more of a horror atmosphere here.
Why not toss it
Yep.
in with this lot?
But like, it's so dark.
It's
so dark.
My belly aches. The hierarchs have something special in mind.
It's worth noting in the original cutscene he smiles there, and he does not hear. Or if he does, it's very subtle.
Yeah. Look, he's so sweaty.
Release the prisoner.
Yep.
The council decided to have you hung by your entrails and your corpse paraded through the city. Become the Arbiter.
The taming of the Hunters, the Grunt Rebellion. Were it not for the Arbiters, the Covenant would have broken long ago.
So, funny thing about the terminals, you actually get to see a lot of those events that were mentioned right there. And again, it's like, is it necessary because we just heard about it here? No, and again, that's a strength to Halo 2, right? It actually does set up a lot of stuff with the Arbiter. But seeing more of like what an Arbiter is supposed to do is nice.
This heretic and those who follow him must be silenced.
You can't really see it here because the lighting is so harsh, but his armor is 100% a different color than it is in-game.
According to our station, all without exception. This armor suits you, but it cannot hide that mark. Nothing ever will.
It actually does quite effectively. It has a full breastplate.
But these are my elites. Their lives matter to me, yours does not. That makes two of us.
Another interesting direction decision. He looks down in this new cutscene like he's ashamed, whereas in the original he looks him dead in the eye.
Yeah, it's an important detail because that line is like him answering the challenge that the shipmaster gives him right there. And here it's like he's like, no, I get it. I know. I fucked up. It's okay.
Prepare for combat.
So it does actually change his characterization.
Yeah.
And I think for the worse. I think that's a bad decision.
And suddenly it's a lot brighter. There's no storm yet, and our armor is nowhere near as brightly colored.
Or reflective.
Well, ray tracing, you know.
Yeah, true. But we get to look at the fancy sword.
Fancy sword? I don't like the new sound.
Yeah, the new sound's not great.
I like the glass shattering of the original. Speaking of the original, we see, again, like in Halo 1 Anniversary, a big departure from the original Forerunner architectural style. Here you have these, like, layered gratings, and here you do not. You have a lot more pieces of larger, chunkier decoration. We're creeping ever closer to figuring out what they look like in Halo 4 for you.
Awesome. Look, I don't know, like the new futuristic lines, you know, 45-degree angles and all that, Sure, it looks good. It's definitely improvement over beige bricks. But, I don't know. Can I push? I can push him. Can we push him off the edge?
Maybe.
Help me. We're totally gonna push him off the edge.
No!
Oh no! He reset his position. Oh, there you go, you got it.
Actually, you know what? While we're here fucking around, let's actually take a look at the detail on these suits, because, like, there's a lot of detail on these suits.
There is.
The little scratches. You get
very finely detailed arse on this suit.
Yeah. There's, good contouring. Here, it's like he's wearing a diaper. Talk about a makeover.
Did they nerf the Elite's asses? They did. They nerfed the...
I mean...
I don't know if it's an improvement or not, is the thing. Right? Because there's more contouring, but there's less cake.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the mass that was previously as if it were one continuous cheek is now spread amongst two distinct ones. But actually, there's a pretty big redesign on the back armor. Like, they have these tubes going into something here, and like a spine thing.
Yeah, it almost implies some sort of breathing mechanism.
Which we can see very clearly it doesn't have. Less spiky. The helmet is not as... It protects more of the neck, which is good, but it's not as, like, pointy.
Again, I think as time went on, they really doubled down on the insect look for the armor and the weapons and stuff. He looks way more like a beetle in the new look.
Yeah. God, imagine you get a new coworker, right? And like they're not quite your boss, but they're as high up as your boss. And like you ride down, you have a really awkward bus ride where the guy's like really sad about his life situation. And then the first thing he does is clone himself and stare at your ass and criticize your fashion choice.
What, that's not Tuesday for you?
I mean, part of that happened to me at my job. Interesting thing, though, here, the black armored grunts are now purple.
Yep.
Okay. Good work, Saber Interactive.
Yeah, they're also a different style of grunt, too.
They are.
Oh, here we go, active camouflage effect.
You may wish to do the same, officer.
Ooh.
I did, and then...
There is some Z fighting going on with this camouflage effect.
Yeah, it's a lot darker in this room and this facility in general, but the camo stands out much more. Let's take a look at the Covenant Carbine. So, big thing about it in Halo 2 is that you see the little dial of its ammo counter going down as you shoot. It does not have that function in Anniversary.
A massive oversight, if you ask me.
Yeah. Other than that, color palette change. Actually, that's a big thing in this game. The color palette for Forerunner stuff still changes just as much as it did in Halo 1 Anniversary. Here we have, like, the bronzes and browns and warmer gray tones. And, nope, blue.
It's much cooler, much more sterile, clinical, foreboding, cold. The original feels very drab, and not in a bad way, right? Like, it's just, it has a very drab look to it, whereas that is not the case here.
This room maintains a lot of the same sort of feel, I'd say.
Yeah.
What's funny, actually, about these new Phantom models is that despite them having the three belly guns, the two on either side, they still have the three-sectioned door on the side that Halo 3 would introduce.
Could you imagine a Phantom with the three guns and then the open doors with the turrets?
I don't want to. Another thing about the disparity between cutscene and gameplay, the Phantoms, as we've previously discussed, are very red in-game, but in the cutscenes they're Covenant purple.
Ah, Covenant purple, my favorite Crayola crayon.
Much different lighting here. Kind of more what you can tell they were going for by the way they placed the sources. Unlike a lot of areas, this doesn't have many additional light sources, it just actually casts light from them instead of a generic bulb of light somewhere around them.
I'm sending one of our bandits to support you.
Well, let's take a listen to some of the new soundtrack.
So, I'm now going to talk about the music. Now, if you played the original Halo 2 release on Xbox like I did, the opening notes of the music for this area would have made you do a double take. Because this track is absolutely not the original track. But if you switch to the original graphics,
we'll take them out one by one until we find the heretic leader.
It's this, you know, upbeat rock track, drowned out in the mix by everything else. It's like very fast-paced.
Drowned out by the engine noise of the Banshee.
Yeah. And then this is a track. It's called Follow. I can't remember the artist. It has lyrics. This is like the instrumental version. And then you switch to. So there's some guitar in here.
It's a little chill, though.
Yes.
It
evokes a very different mood. Because the only other thing we had to do was, like, cut the cable? It's the same shit. There's nothing new to talk about there with the visuals. Let's go. Except for the flood showing up, but anyway.
What he said. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. I didn't realize we were going with that for on.
Well, I mean, I was trying to find a place to start talking, but you just kind of were like doing the intro for me, so I was like, oh, fuck it, I guess I'll use this.
Report! Both engine cores have spun to zero. We're drifting. Archer pods are cold. I'll need to
We've seen enough of these cutscenes. Check out that guy's 21.9 ultra-wide UHD HDR curved gaming monitor. Whoa, I bet he gets so many frames.
You're not a real gamer unless you got a curved monitor.
Alright, screw the cutscenes. Check it out, we're on the Delta Halo now.
Woo! So, I'm told Delta Halo has the biggest visual change, now I'll get to see it myself.
Little bit of lag there. Anniversary graphics are a little laggy. That's not something I can control.
Plus, you know, the online element makes it even wackier.
Yeah, nothing is... Can't say that. It's nothing huge. It's kind of just like the graphics doing graphics at them.
Although the look of these ruins is... No, they're about the same.
Yeah, they're similar. I think they're a little cleaner, actually.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Oh, what am I doing? I have a different ammo rocket launcher.
Oh, hell yeah, we do. I forgot. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, no problem. So we'll clear out these... probably cutting this part as it is. Clear out these dudes and then take a look at what we got. Alright.
The shade is, or whatever this turret's called, is pretty much identical.
Yeah.
Points for that, I guess.
Just more triangles. Alright, so. The stone ruins that the Forerunners built on purpose.
Yes.
I'm still confused about that.
So, it's not necessarily a directional change, but it's one of those improvements that, like, if you look at the horizon, right, you get a ring of hills and then the suggestion of hills with JPEGs.
Yeah.
On the original graphics. And then you switch to new, bam, look at that. There's a horizon.
And those, I mean, that's still like a texture in the skybox, but it just looks nicer.
Yep.
Stop giving us enemies to fight. We're trying to talk.
Ah, crap.
There.
I can't lock on with this latency.
Okay, so this little crater lake or whatever. Honestly,
well,
other than flowing a different direction, I mean, this looks like it is flowing, which is weird for a lake. The water looks about the same. There's only so good you can make static water. Because it's not static. There's only so good you can make water look if it's just kind of sitting evenly.
Especially when the underlying, like, game is like Halo 2 and you're trying to recreate it. It's like they can't, you know, do dynamic water or whatever.
Right.
Maybe they could have, who knows. But why would you want to? It's a waste of resources for something you barely look at.
Yeah, although I will say you can kind of see the texture tiling over there, 0 out of 10.
I thought we were long gone with texture tiling, but it's back.
Nice little shoreline here.
How do the ODST guys look compared to... Oh, wow. That is a really good model for them. Like, it's faithful to the original, but it looks more like, you know, a guy wearing gear than, like, you know, some black polygons.
These guys look like the clone soldiers from Fear.
Little bit. Little bit. I think the thing that's not helping that is the, you can see the underlying camo BDU that they're wearing.
Mm-hmm.
Which you, in the original, it's just like, does it have a texture? If this dude had stopped moving.
They keep running back and forth. It's very annoying. Yeah, they have camo in the original.
It's just darker. Yeah.
It's just like they look a little goofy with their flak jackets bunched up around their ears.
But yeah, it looks like a dude wearing gear. The gloves, especially. Like in the original, they look good, but I mean, I think the ODST is one of the better looking models in the original Halo 2.
Probably.
Oh, I need my rocket launcher back. Where'd it go?
Oh dear, what happened there?
Don't know. Doesn't matter.
Alright, this is one of those times where the wait until Halo 2 lets you continue playing the video game is getting really annoying, because we want to move on, but I'd like to have a Warthog to do it in.
Man, these trees are so vascular.
What's fun is they actually added a little deformation around the drop pod impact zone, whereas in the original it's just kind of like, we have gently placed this steel drum on the ground.
Also, the interior of the drop pod looks more like something that you can sit in and fasten yourself to. Yeah.
There's padding everywhere. really bad texture. I think the interior texture in the original is about on par with the remaster is.
I saw it too.
Shut up and give us the warthog.
If I were a megalomaniac, and I'm not, that's where I'd be.
Give us the warthog.
Oh, hey, they got rocket pods in that Pelican. Oh, it has that in the original. I never noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
In case you thought it wasn't going to look like it was from Alien.
Yeah, well.
Thank you.
Alright, you drive.
We're moving out.
Oh, you know what? Why should I ride in the back when I have a rocket launcher? Let a Marine work the gun. Or an ODST. In you get. Oh, okay, the other one decided he wanted to come. Let's roll.
Great. Let's show off the difference in the horn.
Old one's better. Old one's way better.
Yeah. But okay, let's take a look, because Halo 1 Anniversary, you get onto the titular Halo, and it looked nice, and you see a lot of the same here. There's just extra vegetation. They've really just kind of expanded on what was supposed to be here previously. Like, oh, this green smear along a gentle bump in the landscape? Bam! It's a cliff.
Makes sense to me.
You can also kind of tell the geometry matches a lot better than it did in Halo 1. And
yes.
The places where it doesn't are largely inaccessible. So, like, right here, the angle it follows here is the same, but this part... Well, maybe it's a little closer than I thought.
Well, a good trick is to peel the geometry back rather than forward, right? Which they seem to be doing here.
There we go.
Whoa!
Yeah, the other one took the warthog.
Don't worry, I made him stop.
It's like a postcard.
We were getting to the good part, mister.
Kicking ass in outer space. Wish you were here.
I'm about to shoot those two. They're really annoying. So is this lag.
Yeah.
Alright, let's take a look at the distant scenery.
Oh, there's a sniper rifle back here if you wanna take a look. Like a real look.
I'm getting a nice widescreen view, something you couldn't get in Halo 2.
Fair enough.
16 years ago.
So,
pull this goddamn sword out of the way. There we go.
Just a lot of taking stuff that was there but was more of a suggestion and making it more definite, like that wall, right? Ruins are pretty much identical. You can't see the reflection of the ship in the water though, in the new look.
No, you can't, which, I don't know. It's a minor trade-off.
But we could talk about colors. So there's a lot more in the blues and greens, or if you go back to the original, they're using a lot more pink, purple, grey.
Yeah, the sky is definitely more colorful in the original.
They're trying, yeah, they clearly had a look they wanted to go for, and it, you know, the new one is like, oh, we want to make it look new and more realistic, I suppose. I don't know that would be the word I would use, but
I think all around I like the colors in the remaster a lot better.
I think it sells the like lush environment you're in a lot better. I do like the visual in the original though, of like the shadowed out ship and the
that looks nice.
Colors.
But the issue here that I think happens is it's more colorful up top, so it draws your eye up and you're not looking at the ground. But it's a first-person shooter where you walk on the ground, so I think, especially how the clouds are darker over here and over there, so it kind of vignettes the ship. It still gives that same effect by drawing your eye towards it, especially with the pillars of light that are a little... They were in the original, but they're a little softer here, but they're a little broader as well because of their glow. So it's a more subtle effect, so when you notice it, it kind of like, oh, look, a thing. That's very impressive.
They're actually using motion to draw your eye up as well. They've added little beams shooting up in the new look.
Yeah, those don't happen in the original.
Nope. Well, let's check the distant collision, shall we?
I mean, looks like it's gonna go all the way. Nope.
Went straight through him.
Uh-oh.
I mean, they do that in the original as well. I just wanted to see.
Well, of course.
Alright.
You know, in the interest of, like, well, let's talk about what we would like. As far as being able to just kind of, like, explore, because that's something else. We touched on it a little bit in Halo 2, but even though there wasn't a lot going on in Halo 1, the areas were much broader. I think if they wanted to expand on that, it would have been really nice. Because what they did was narrow everything down and give you a much tighter combat-focused experience. You go through an area and fight enemies in planned encounters, move on to the next one. I think, while I didn't like the big open areas in Halo 1 because they were ultimately pretty useless, to expand on them would have been really, really cool to get back into what we liked about Unreal and its big open areas. Like, imagine...
So you're saying maybe they should try some sort of pseudo-open world Halo?
Maybe. I mean, who knows? Personally, I think if they tried that, it might lose every creative director they throw at it and be delayed indefinitely, but... you know.
So, they added beaches.
Well, what I was saying, like, let's say this was built more like Unreal, and it had tried to expand on its own sort of big open area, but let's put actual things in it this time. So maybe we would have been able to, like, drive down to this beach and find a little outpost, fight a couple of Covenant, and pick up, like, some super weapons or something.
That'd be neat. If only they had upgrades you could pick up for the pistol.
Yeah. That's kind of a thing that I also don't like about the 2-weapon limit. Because you have your power weapons, like I'm carrying a rocket launcher and an energy sword, and it's like, because you are restricting access to the powerful weapons by their frequency of dropping rather than the frequency of their ammo, it means you can't put cool weapons off to the side because, like, well, all of your weapons are already right there. I don't know, it just feels like... It feels like there isn't a lot you could stash away because there isn't anything you can know that a player will have in their back pocket. Like, if you always had access to a rocket launcher, but exploring a little gave you more ammo for it, that would be cool rather than just like, oh, they need to fight a raid here, so we'll give them a rocket launcher.
It also helps make things more surprising, right? Because, like, if you pick up a power weapon, you know that you're going to need to use it in the next room or a room after that. Because otherwise, why would they give it to you? Nope. You shot me.
It ruins the surprise.
It does.
That's another thing that I don't like about the 2-weapon limit, because if you're playing a game like Unreal, since we focused on it on this channel before, you might use up all of your crazy special ammo, and then you're left to deal with the combat encounter with, like, less optimal tools, and you have to make it work. I think giving players this 2-weapon limit, while it might work in theory, it makes your encounter design a lot less freeform, despite the idea that it should be more freeform. Because you have to design the encounter around what weapons the player can find in them.
Case in point, we need to fight wraiths. Oh look, they gave us a tank.
They gave us a tank because we might have used up all of the ammo that we started with. And wouldn't that be embarrassing to have to fight a wraith?
Yep. Later games got better about giving you alternate ways to deal with problems, so that you don't have to always rely on having a power weapon. But we're here to talk about the visuals, so let's get back to that.
Yeah, we'll skip ahead to the next big ruin area. Although I like this little entrance here to this cave. It looks, yeah, just a really good evolution of what they had in the original.
The darkened lighting really helps.
Fake HDR.
I never liked HDR.
Never liked it, but you know, it does create a much more interesting atmosphere. Because I mentioned previously in this very video, random light sources from nowhere, and you can see, get out of the tank, right here, that a light is focused around this nebulous area somewhere, because you can see where it's lighter on the ceiling, how it dissolves outward, and like, what the hell is giving off this light? Nothing. And here we go. Halo 2 Anniversary, like we mentioned in Pillar of Autumn, I think. It's just it's a lot better at giving you proper light sources rather than just, this area would be hard to see, so we put a light in it even though it wouldn't make any sense. Nice little moss growing in the cracks everywhere.
Yeah, there's hints of moss in the original. They're just like green splotches, though.
These textures are so small and they're so stretched, you have no idea what any of it is.
Yeah. You can see individual bricks in the updated look. And, you know, you could make an argument, oh, but it's supposed to be one contiguous carved out of stone. Yeah, but the bricks look better.
Yeah.
You have a better point of reference for what they're supposed to look like. You know, it's funny, I keep swapping back and forth, and I'm surprised by how much of the, like, the stuff is just there in the original. It just doesn't look great, right? Like,
oh yeah,
like the tree gripping onto the ruin there.
Yeah, it looks good.
You know,
in the original, like it does look pretty good, and it's just they've pushed it. They've pushed every design decision in the anniversary graphics, and it just, you got the extra vines, you got more stuff draping down, just looks nice.
It seems to me like with the anniversary version of 2, they sat down and they went, okay, people hammered on us for getting things wrong in Halo 1. Let's sit down with each area and understand what's going on before we change it.
I think that's a really good way of putting it. I agree, it shows a better understanding of the original intent.
Now, whether that's because they had a different team, or because they took the criticisms to heart, or who knows, but it definitely feels like they took the time and effort to expand upon the original rather than just make the original look more good in it. These light shafts, especially, like in the original, they're there, they're just like a box with a transparent texture, but they're really selling those god rays in the anniversary version.
We actually did talk about in Unreal, I've mentioned it 3 times already, our Unreal playthrough, in the Scar mothership, after you break everything, those 2 light shafts coming in, it's just 2 non-solid cylinders warped a little bit, and the room just has blue light applied to it. It's very effective. Like, light shafts have been in games forever because they are so easy to do. You just need a semi-transparent plane.
Well, speaking of light shafts, here's actually a really nice example of what I was just talking about with understanding the original intent. This crack is not here in the original with the light bleeding through, but it's like, hey, they're going for the god rays here, let's just throw another one in. Because this area is going to be dark, we need to add some light to it.
Well, it's also a very well chosen place because what's it shining light on? A ramp up to the second level of this area.
See, that's smart, right? That's directing. Always use light to direct your player, because players notice light.
Yeah. It's a hell of a lot better than glowing arrows, although I guess that is light in its own.
I think that these ruins, even though the underlying geometry is pretty much identical, look a damn sight better in the Anniversary, because instead of one big smudged texture, it's lots of textures that are, you know, modestly sized, and it makes everything a lot more readable. You could talk about technical limitations at the time, obviously, but we know that Halo 2 was, like, rushed out the door for the holidays, so...
Readability is another good word, because you look at this, and it's... It just kind of all blends together, and you get every little crenellation has the same texture applied to it.
Yep.
It's really obvious. You just kind of loses an identity. Here,
and it makes it difficult to discern what's going on, too.
Yeah. Here, the textures... This texture's so gnarly. A super small texture stretched out way too far with, like, much higher resolution textures applied onto it as these cracks.
Well, that's the thing. I like that they applied these cracks to try and be like, no, look though. Look, it's not just one big texture we stretched over the whole thing. We put cracks there.
And this game came out in 2004.
Whereas it lacks cracks in the Anniversary look, but they've added this like ridge with moss. And it's funny because this pattern seems to evoke the like more technological like structures that we've seen on Halo before, but
yeah, it echoes the weird
thrown into it. Yeah,
embossing that the Forerunner stuff has.
And I think that's actually a really clever change. That is, I would applaud that artist, whoever came up with that. That's good.
Absolutely agree. Plus this again, it's like yellowy gray, and it just looks ugly.
The colors in the Anniversary definitely pop more than the original.
Yeah, this is more. It's less yellow, more cream. So like still a shade of yellow, but it's more like just nice soft sandstone. And
I think they've done a very respectable job of updating this area.
Adding tiles to these ramps where before they're just horrible.
Yep. So hey, you want to talk about updating an area for the better?
Nice places.
So in the original, this area is not terrible, but it tends to be one muddy green mess.
It's much nicer. The proper differentiation between the soil of the ground and then the rock it's sitting on, rather than just kind of like, here is some green rock, I guess? This little valley, it's not really a valley, it's more like we're inside a crevice of some kind. Looks really good. It's got this subtle mist to it. It's got the vegetation hanging down.
See, this is one of those times where taking liberties creatively is helping more than it's hurting.
Absolutely. Well, what we're here for is the underwater section.
Down we go. And pause to load in the underwater area.
Change the lighting, which is still an issue in the Anniversary graphics. And we have some lag as it's actually loaded in. And,
so now they've changed stuff into a lot of the rocks into ruins.
Yeah, you can see a lot more. And oh well, those weeds were floating. Whoops. 0 out of 10. Yeah, you can say what you want about, like, oh, but this is so mysterious. You don't... You can barely tell that these are the suggestions of buildings. This is really nice. Alright, so here's what happened. Just like before, actually, when we were doing that level, as soon as we got near the end of Regret, as we were about to do the boss fight, the game just crashed. Or the mission did, anyway. Skull got kicked out. So, we're not gonna bother looking at that. We're just gonna hop into... Yeah, hop into Gravemind.
Because overall, the biggest visual change.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it, but we'll talk about it once we're in.
What is that?
So, instead of being like a weird plant monster, now he's a sock puppet?
A sock puppet made of meat?
Yeah. Also, you'll note that we skipped Sacred Icon and Quarantine Zone. Look, this video's long enough.
Yeah.
We don't need to worry about it.
But yeah, they've changed Audrey 2 into Monster Mash, and there's a lot more blood too.
Yeah, this is like, oh, I guess we are rated M.
But do not waste my
Yeah.
I don't
know if I think this is more fitting or less fitting.
Well, the thing is, like, if this is the dude who, like, is supposed to be the leader of the Flood, he doesn't look anything like the Flood?
No. That's true.
I mean, maybe if Blur Studios had been the one to redesign all of Halo 2, maybe they would have looked like this. They would have been like gross meat zombies instead of like puffy fungal men.
Maybe. See, that's the thing. The original looks definitely much more alien, where this is just a worm made of meat.
Yeah, this is just like, oh, it sure is gross looking. Granted, the model for the Overmind in Halo 2 by default is like really bad looking.
Oh, they keep showing it up close in the original and it doesn't quite work.
Yeah. With its weird like side flaps just like twitching back and forth as if it were trying to talk.
It's definitely more alien, which I think is more suitable for the Flood, which is supposed to be a very alien threat, even to the Covenant themselves. But, yeah, I don't know. I kind of don't like the new design for Overmind.
Yeah, I don't know what it's supposed to be other than gross looking. Again, it doesn't have any sort of like visual cohesion with the rest of the Flood.
No,
so...
but at the same time, you can't make fun of it for being Audrey 2.
Your ignorance already destroyed one of the sacred rings.
Feed me, John Haloman.
Yeah. Like, he just has a mouth.
Yeah.
I don't know.
To stop the key from turning. But first,
I don't know. That's what I'm taking away from this. I don't know.
Well, the thing about it is, like, it's not like the Overmind's really that important of a character. You physically see it once in this cutscene.
This ring will make us brothers.
What a random-ass plot point to pull out of nowhere.
Oh, but it mattered in Halo 3.
Did it?
No, of course it didn't, Reckon.
Tune in next week for the start of Halo 3. I guess we'll watch the rest of this cutscene. I don't know if there's a whole lot else to focus on in Halo 2 Anniversary. We've said basically all there is to say. It's not...
The Brute on Guard are missing their flags. Bring back shoulder flags.
With it, our path is clear.
The differences between levels and the atmosphere of them is nowhere near as drastic as it was in Halo 1 Anniversary.
No.
So there's not much use to like go level by level and like, oh, what changed here? Because if it's not clear by now, we're both generally very supportive of the anniversary treatment for this game.
Abso-positively.
They have their little flags.
Oh, they do. Okay, never mind. We should roll through High Charity for a bit, just for the sake of comparing it to next week's edition in the series.
Oh, that's fair.
Because like this is an updated visual take on Halo 2's High Charity, right? Which kind of shows up in the next game.
It does, but you wouldn't recognize it. You don't like.
No.
It's not a before and after sort of thing, which is honestly, spoilers, one area where I think it would have actually been really nice to reuse the level geometry.
Yep.
All aboard the USS Rickenbacker. There is something in here that I'd like to focus on, actually, so we'll crossfade after we get done with all these identical hallways, and we'll see you for what should probably be the very end of this video. So see you then. So ignore the bodies, but here's our first look at the inside of High Charity, which, it's really nice. It's very pretty.
Yep.
And Cortana's gonna yell at us to get down the hole, but we'll just ignore her. This place is supposed to be a city, right? Covenant Holy City, and oh, it looks like there's a city down there.
Yeah. Whereas in the original, it's like there's some city that's close to the Eiffel Tower there, but like it sort of just fades out to bare metal at some point, which is weird. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
It is very weird.
But here it runs all the way back, and it's just packed.
Yeah, they've actually
buildings.
They've actually extended the dome, because we're near the very edge of it right here.
Yeah.
But in the anniversary, they've made this pillar sort of like a more freestanding structure that then like has the wall extend far behind. They've made it a much grander scale. These birds here, cool birds.
Yep, and on top of that, if you actually look over here and compare the two, you can actually see the connecting bridge that we'll eventually go to in the anniversary graphics.
Oh yeah, how about that? I've never actually seen that before. But yeah, they've you can really see it here, how this is kind of like, it is freestanding, but it's really just butting up against the wall, and then, wow, just kind of hanging there.
Meet you at the bottom, okay?
Also, I was looking at it a little bit earlier, but it looks really nice. I love what they did with the place. This is very clearly just Google Maps top-down view.
Yeah, I'd prefer that to what we got in the original.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's very silly. It's like, wow, this looks really nice. Then you zoom in, it's like, wait a second, this looks like probably the area that is around Saber Interactive's offices. Like, wow, I wonder why the Covenant need so many factories and, I don't know, apartment complexes. There's like a public park. I wonder if we'll see an elementary school.
Hey man, just because we never see children versions of all the aliens that make up the Covenant, doesn't mean there aren't.
What if grunts molt into elites?
Yeah, alright, I mean, that's the new canon. I don't care what it was before. That's
yeah.
it.
I don't know what the fuck an Ungoi is, or what the fuck a Sanghili is, or what the fuck a Jiralhane is. I don't know. They're grunts. The game only ever calls them grunts and elites and brutes, so therefore I have to assume it's like a Pokemon evolution. At level 5, it's a grunt. It evolves into an elite at level like 24, and then at level 37, it evolves into a brute.
Well, there you go.
Anyway, this has been the anniversary graphics bonus video for Halo 2. Join us next week as we venture into Halo 3.
A game that is... So, I'm going to start out, because spoilers about how these games, these videos are made. This is recorded after Halo 3.
Sure is.
I'm going to start out very excited to be replaying Halo 3, and then progressively you're going to notice that, like, as Reckon points more things out, I realize how bad it actually is, and just savagely turn on the game by the end of it. So look forward to that.
I start out being nice to Halo 3 a little bit.
Alright, well, look forward to Halo 3.
Yeah.
And thanks for sticking with us up until now.
And we're off in the behind the scenes version of this. We're off to go play Halo 4 for Skull's first time. So can't wait.
I look forward to it. I can't wait. Alright.
Farewell, everybody. Thank you for sticking with us.
Goodbye.